So welcome to day 4 of design thinking session. Today we're going to cover the topic idea or ideation. How do we come up with solutions or provide solutions? This is all about exploration stage, okay? So here, as usually, we're looking at some techniques and tools and methodologies. So one of the technique is brainstorming for ideation, and another technique which is like 24 sutras of ideation. So like that, I'm going to share with you these tools and techniques. How do you come up with new solution ideas? Okay, so let's go ahead. This is one thing I want to explain, that you might see a lots of videos and reading material regarding design thinking. If you hear like 4 different people, you'll get a slightly different version of design thinking. Why does this happen? Because it's a subject interpreted differently according to the different fields. So what do I mean? For example, design thinking is used in corporate companies and product design studio as well. In UI UX agencies, again, UI UX designers use extensively design thinking. Branding and advertising agency have been using design thinking since many decades. So likewise, currently it's taught in MBA colleges. There is a D school in Stanford. They extensively teach design thinking. So when you hear all of them talking about design thinking, you'll get a very different usage of design thinking. So if I want to give one parallel example, consider design thinking as electricity, okay? If I tell you electricity is basically interpreted very differently. Here if you put electricity, here you put a bulb, here you put a air conditioner, here you put a heater, here you put a refrigerator, here you put a motor. So look at electricity. Electricity is not motor. Electricity is not refrigerator. Electricity is not your heater. Electricity is not your air conditioner. Electricity is not a bulb. But electricity is an energy which helps all these gadgets perform different tasks. So like that, design thinking is a process, is an energy, is a method that is used by corporate companies to structure their corporate organization. Product design studios or agencies used to come up with the new products or the design new products. UI UX designer come up with new UI UX solutions or apps or whatnot. So branding and ad agencies come up with the brand ideas, brand communication ideas, or they use extensive design thinking to build a brand. So likewise, D school or business school are using design thinking as a subject to teach, or it's a kind of a tool to innovate. That's how they teach. So therefore, the way design thinking means would slightly differs in each of these categories, okay? For example, Apple has been extensively using design thinking in their organization, okay? And they use design thinking in several levels, from product design to their software design to their structure, their marketing, and you just name it. So IDEO is a product design studio or agency you can call. They extensively use design thinking to come up with products, okay, provide solutions, or come up with gadgets. So this is Interaction Design Foundation, where they spread knowledge regarding UI UX. They do have a lot of training materials and the train and the certify, all of that they do. So they talk about design thinking from the perspective of UI UX. Likewise, as I was earlier saying, O&M or ad agencies extensively used design thinking to build brands. Likewise, D-School, the Institution of Design at Stanford, they teach it as a subject for entrepreneurs, business owners, and the people who want to pursue career in marketing. So earlier, what happened? Like I discussed with you in one of the session, I told you design thinking leads to three kind of innovation. Apple applied design thinking for all the three things, like function innovation, process innovation, and emotion innovation. So they use design thinking to innovate all three types of innovation in their organization, for their products, for their consumers, just name it. Likewise, IDEO, which is design studio, they use a design thinking to come up with products, many a time function innovation and a process innovation, which kind of guides. But majorly, they kind of solve the functional and process innovations, okay? Likewise, UI UX guys, they are more thinking about desirability, like how consumer like it, feel it, and find it much more easy to use it. And the process, like you consider technicalities and a technical side of the process. So O&M are all the ad agencies or Hollywood or Bollywood. They majorly are into emotion innovation. They create that desirability around a subject or a product or a service. So it's all about emotional innovation. And lastly, in MBAs, so they are imparting a business education. So therefore, they are totally concentrating on process innovation and function innovation. Of course, there will be a bit of emotion innovation, but the extensively how emotion innovation is used in a branding agency, it doesn't happen in a MBA course, okay? So let's go further. We looked at this 5-stage process. Today we are in ideation process, like where we kind of ideate solutions. So what is ideation stage? Ideation is a creative process where designer or the participants generate ideas in these sessions. So we all know, like once you start ideating, you'll start sketching, you start doodling, you start putting your thoughts and whatever ideas coming on the paper, you try to capture your ideas. If you are a UI UX designer, you'll start playing with tools and techniques which helps you to provide UI UX solutions or ideas. So likewise, product designers will be playing with the structure and utility and all those things. And transportation designers or car designers, they kind of start ideating their thoughts on the paper initially. So what is ideation stage? Participants gather to think and produce as many ideas as possible to address a given problem. Participants are free to share their innovative ideas without the fear of being judged. So how do we conduct a productive ideation session? So there are methods and methodologies, like for example, if you want to conduct a productive ideation session, so what are those things you need to do? We need to decide space. Obviously, we need a place where your members can come together and sit. And team must define the right problem to address. Again, there has to be problem statement written. Ideate is the third stage of the design thinking process. So make sure that data regarding the early two stages are displayed in the session. So obviously, like if you have a room where you're sitting and discussing, so you need to have a consumer understanding, you need to have a defined problem statement, and your consumer persona also available. So before we begin the idea session, the team needs a clear, defined a problem to address, which is idea statement. So idea session moderator must help reframe issues and prompt participants to collaborate to produce solutions. So again, here you can see that. So we need to dedicate space, of course, where people can sit. People can sit, and then just use the behind wall or display boards to put the data points, like the user persona, we call it, if you're doing UI UX. If you're doing consumer product or services, you kind of do consumer analysis or understanding their demography and the psychography are critical. And then make sure that your session room will have all of those elements what you generate in your previous sessions, so that people can refer and connect, and they will become stimulating pointers. The problem statement or point of view, how might we solve or correct this particular problem, kind of a question. So how to solve is the mode you are in to provide solutions. So how to conduct a productive ideation session. So if you are a moderator, what you need to do, moderator must reframe the issue and prompt participants to collaborate to produce solutions. Ideation techniques. So here are a few ideation techniques. Many ideation techniques are available that can help you in your ideation session. Mind mapping, brainstorming, brainwriting, brain walking, sketch storming, storyboard, scamper. So these are techniques. There are many more, but I just want to introduce a few of them so that you start understanding how this works. Let's look at mind map. Many of us heard about mind map, and some of you, I believe, that use the mind map extensively. So you keep your big idea in the center, like in this case, like I kept a big idea, do not feed pigeon. I wanted to mind map on this. So why, who, cultural connection, are not pigeon a friendly bird, like all of that related information what I collected, I started looking into it. Then you start seeing that there are a variety of things happening regarding a pigeon. Pigeons are the reason for multiple diseases, okay? So then further, if you look at the multiple, I started visualizing what is multiplicity in terms of structure or product or objects. So I came across this very interesting Russian doll, the multiplicity without taking too much space. So it's a doll inside doll inside doll inside doll. There are several dolls cocooned inside a single doll. So that's a very interesting multiple things, but they are not taking additional space. Within the space, those are accommodated. So that idea triggered for me when I was producing this tent card. So I wanted to give a message to the audience, 3 types of diseases. So here I don't have much space to write, so I use these 3 10 cards, one inside another. This is another brainstorming session. It's a sketch storm session. So whatever idea comes to your mind, you start sketching. So you can see a little close-ups. So this client called Karen, her name, and she wanted to create her own tea brand. So we provided a solution for her. Here you can see that because she's a tea lover and she sources a good tea from all over the world, and there is some personal touch and as well as tea pot which really easily recognized. So that's how we came up with this idea. Another expression of Karen tea. So we used a partial portion of the kettle and we combined with the subject and initial. That's how we got fantastic initial K. Yeah. So one more tool which I want to discuss with you, which is called 24 Ideation Sutras. And here you can see 12 this side and 12 that side. So these are 24 ways you can start visualizing your ideas. So there are certain triggers are given in each of these sutras, and following those principles you can kind of start thinking, imagining your solution. For example, this is one sutra, play with time. So try to bring time factor in your idea, in your brand idea. So make the effect of time visible. For example, if you look at it, Fair and Lovely, and they used to show that face, the time transition. And good number of advertisements they do like before and after, how it was, how it is. Show the effect, the time effect on the subject. So how will time alter the product? How will the product affect humanity and a human history? Take the product back into the distant past or put it in time machine. So again, time is a very good as a trigger you can use to come up with ideas. Another sutra, without words, you know that there are good number of, like, just look at this particular pack, you'll come to know banana shake or banana juice or something which is in. So there are a good number of brands, they say very little or there are no words. It's everything pictorially or visually communicated. Exaggeration, this is extensively used by a good number of ads. Generally they exaggerate so that you can remember that, because human brain is such a way that if you exaggerate something, either very small or very big, you will start remembering that. Okay? Metaphor. You know that metaphors, like for example, if I say idea, the bulb comes to your mind. The moment I say safety, safety pin comes to your mind. So metaphor is another powerful tool or a sutra, a good number of creative use to come up with creative ideas. Play with word, use words, okay? Then try to create a communication piece. Okay, the soon, and here you can see McDonald's, the arc, golden arc, and become part of your time. Yeah. So likewise, you can see that there are these techniques which are really powerful and you can use extensively to come up with solutions. Like this is again, take a look inside, like peeping inside. People like the peeping inside. Can I use that like creating window or using transparent material so that I'm bringing that consumer interaction with the product, so henceforth there is a belief and trust you're building. So like that, there are 24 methods and methodologies which are extensively used by creatives in ad agencies and branding to generate ideas. Okay, so let me share one of my projects, like wherein I used kind of a metaphor or a symbol. The big concept was inside out. This is a real estate. They were building luxury houses and they were beautifully designed. Their whole aim is they wanted to provide these houses, or their main target audience for these houses are the people who are buying to stay. Okay, in the market there are two kind of people who buy the house, the luxury house. One type of people who use luxury house as investment, just they buy it and keep it, they don't stay in their places. But the other set of people like who buy the houses to stay in there. And this particular real estate TG, like 90% of the TG are who are buying these properties, luxury properties, to stay themselves. So therefore, they kind of build their brand around this USP. So their houses, there are luxury houses for those people who wants to live in this luxury house, not use it as a investment instrument. Okay, so if you are buying a luxury house for paying like 20 crore, you're buying that to stay. That means you want the best of the best. The inside has to be really good, the most suitable for your aesthetic and your likes and all of that. Therefore, that particular company, they spent a lot of their resources, their energy in creating inside their interiors, their interior spaces so beautiful that people would love to stay there. The buyer feels satisfied. So therefore, that concept is inside out. We needed to create identity, logo for it. So I started visualizing inside out, and then I looked at what is the simplest form which represent a space or abode. So there's 4 walls and a doorway. So that's the simplest form. Then we introduced the name of the company was Marvel Realtor. So we introduced their name. That's how this became their identity. There's a luxury property, so you can kind of be niche because I needed to capture that luxury. These are some gestures, how this logo can appear. So that's how we kind of ideate, by using several tools and techniques to come up with design solutions. Thanks for listening. I will see you in the 5th day session.